Hello, good morning, and Sitaram, and welcome again to this other segment of the program, Addiction and Recovery. We have been speaking about identifying problems related to alcoholism and the whole question of preventing a situation from the outset. So, that what are some of the signs of alcoholism? And I was speaking about this topic specifically in relation to uh, people choosing a life partner. Let me say at the outset, this program is being recorded. It's going to be presented on YouTube and Facebook just after the conclusion. It is also going to be played again, repeated on radio and TV Jagriti at 10 p.m. tonight. So those of you who are unable to listen to the program in its entirety or who would like to refer it, send a link to someone who you believe might benefit from this program, you can do it via Facebook or YouTube. Again, I have my number on the screen, 768-5925. You can text to that number if you have a question or a comment. And yes, back to the subject of, how do you tell you are in a relationship with someone, and we know that men present and women, both of them present the best side of themselves to the other person when they are courting, so that they do their best to hide any challenges they may have or any faults, any character defects, and all of that. However, if you are if you spend time long enough with a person, eventually you will be able to spot it. So what you look for is, you know, taking a social drink. Even at the day, I know in the old days when a boy would go to see a girl, the family will cook food and they will, of course, the drink is in the middle of the center table and they'll offer to the boy's father and uncles, whoever were coming with him. And even maybe on that day, he will not take a drink, or maybe he will. It is expected because alcohol is used as a social lubricant in this society. However, when you get to know this person, if after they take that first drink, there's a tendency to want another one and want another one, that is a pretty sure sign of alcoholic type drinking. Because alcoholism, the disease that is alcoholism, does not really depend on how much a person drinks or how often they drink. It is after they take that first drink, what happens? Some people can take that first drink or two drinks and stop comfortably. These are social drinkers. But the alcoholic, generally, when he's not drinking, he's not drinking. But once he takes that first drink, a craving develops for more. And he would invariably, most of the time, drink till he gets drunk. If that is a pretty sure sign. Now, the mean age for alcoholism is around, in Trinidad and Tobago, is about 35, 36. When most people move from social drinking to compulsive drinking and they are identified at that age. The mean age for cocaine addiction is 16, between 16 and 17. Marijuana addiction, similarly, 16 to 17. When most people by that age, they're addicted. But because alcoholism presents later on, a person can drink for a long time and still manage. Like I drank since maybe I had my first drink when I was about 6 or 7 years old. And then as a teenager, I would hide and take a drink. And then when I started to work, I started to drink like month end. And in a short while, it progressed to almost every weekend and then every 2, 3 times for the week and so on. So with time, it gets more and more pronounced. And I did not do anything. I mean, I did not really seek help until I was 36. So it bears out what the researchers are showing. Most people are able to manage. And even then, you still have your car, you have your job, but drinking is causing a lot of problems, marital problems, physical problems, health problems, financial problems, and all of that. So that for a person seeking to be in a relationship with a partner, you could save yourself of literally 10 to 15 years of hell and misery if you are observant, if you take the time to observe and to look at. So you are looking at the person, the intended spouse, whether it be the boy or the girl. You're look you're looking at the family history. If there's a high incidence of alcoholism in that family, father, grandfather on the father side or mother side were alcoholic, then you need to be especially careful because we know today that alcoholism as a disease can be inherited. It can be genetically transferred from one generation to the other. It may skip a generation sometimes. And then, just like we inherit our complexion, our ethnicity, our looks from our ancestors, so too we can inherit that predisposition to alcoholism and drug addiction. So, again, I have to really applaud the Indian way of doing things, being an Indian myself. In the old days, we would have what you call a person called the agua. The agua was the matchmaker, and today we have matrimonial.com and we have all of these matrimonial sites and so on. But in those days, you didn't have that. You didn't have no phone. So you had the agua, and then sometimes people used to volunteer to assist, an uncle or an aunt living in another community or a friend living in another community would have the eye out so that as soon as a girl or boy starts reaching, puberty and maturity and so on, the word would go out to the relatives and friends and so on, or the matchmaker as well. And a lot of times the pundits assisted to a great deal with this, and they would say, Baba, if you see a good boy, you let us know. And when the Pandit vouch for a dulaha, a bride groom or a bride, the family generally would regard that, as a good prospect. So then you had nows, which is a particular ethnic caste, who usually did agua work and would also do the invitation in the old days when the wedding date is set. So these people will look at the family background, you know, when they're looking at a prospect for marriage, whether it be a girl or a boy. In the, in olden times, they will also look for the caste, try to get, like we were here, we would look for a here. And there was a definite benefit. Yes, some people see it as discriminating, but there was a definite benefit in finding somebody in your own social status and social caste. Because, for instance, if I got married in the old days, I hear were shepherds, were people who would have cows, who would mind cows. They in India they are known as the Yadavs as well. They were the cowherds. So in their household, everyone will learn to how to take care of cows, of animals, clean the pen, you know, they will know how to use the cow dung to boil the milk, kanda as it is called. They will know how to make yogurt or dahi, mahe, the sarhi, that is, churn the sarhi to make ghee. So they would be so familiar with that lifestyle that if they got married from a similar household, they just fitted in without much, seamlessly. They would just move into that household and be able to pick up all the responsibilities as a daughter-in-law. Or and that would facilitate the relationship. They will also look at the background of the family, whether these are respectable people, or if they are family that is always getting into trouble or considered to be social deviants, or and in this case especially if they have a history of drinking in that family. Because it wouldn't take long for you to realize that maybe from the first encounter, the day they came to see the girl, you can look at the way they drank to know whether they have a propensity to drink to get drunk. You understand? And then people will make inquiry in the community. I had that experience, starting to like a girl, and then my parents went and found out from friends in that community what they thought about the people, and they were able to give feedback, say, look, yeah, these are good people, so and so and so. And so drinking can be identified from very early. Drug use can be identified from very early. Unfortunately, nowadays, though, what we find is girls are drinking and their prospective husbands are they're drinking together them with them when they're going out on a date and getting drunk in the fence. And they feel that that is compatibility. Yes, that is compatibility for trouble later on, especially when you bring children into the world. And as I say this, a lot of young people are getting into relationships, even getting married, and still wanting to live like they are bachelors, never thinking that, when you get married, if you choose to bring children in the world, remember, children never asked to come. If you choose to bring a child in the world, you better be prepared to give up some of your bachelor life as a father and as a mother. You can't leave the baby and be partying every night. No, that's not the nana or the grandmother's responsibility. That's your responsibility to take care of the children that you bring in the world. And as I say this, while mothers and grandmothers sometimes enable family members, enable a person to continue to be sick as an alcoholic by picking up the slack for them all the time, so too we enable our young people to become social deviants by picking up their responsibility. You know, they just take us for granted. Anytime they want to go out and have a good time, they drop the children by the grandparents, and the grandparents are living in an empty shell family now. They're glad for the little children as company, and sometimes that works out all right. But a lot of times, you know, these people really give up their responsibility, and they don't really see what is happening with their children, because they're farming them out all the time, either to the caregiver when in their infancy, or this nursery school or the school, and then to the in-laws on both sides. And so no wonder why children are not growing up with that bond, you know. And the children do it to the parents eventually in the same way. A lot of parents I see even in my community here, you have these convalescent homes and geriatric homes and home for the aged and senior citizen centers. And so the children just take you and drop you off there, and you pay for it with your pension, however you can. And they come visit you occasionally, and then you don't see them for months sometimes. And I know I'm sidelining the whole subject of addiction here, but these are social issues that arise from neglect, but arise from pathological relationships to start with. And addiction is at the root of this. The postponement of gratification is at the root of this. So that we need to be aware. If you start a journey, you know, I have often said to young people, if you don't want to go in a certain direction, don't even look that way. Because a journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. And I can tell you from years of experience, over 40 years of working with alcoholics and drug addicts, in formal and informal settings, I can tell you 99% of the people, in fact, I would say 100% of the people who became alcoholics, chronic alcoholics, and drug addicts never started off with the intention of becoming like that. No, they never. You know, only this week I have a very close friend, a beautiful human being who died because of the cirrhosis of the liver. And he was such a nice guy, friends to our family and all of that, done a lot of good for the community. But so to socialize with his friends and so on, to be one of the boys, he would take a drink. and then you become addicted to it, and then the liver can take it and take it. Our liver is not only having to deal with alcohol. Let me say this. As a person, I am involved in complementary medicine. I'm an acupuncturist as well, trained. I also certified to train people in acupuncture. And I can tell you from practicing complementary medicine for the last 30 years, I I can tell you that a lot of people now, yes, alcohol, as I started off by saying, anything more than a tablespoon, alcohol is a poison, and all poisonous substances, anything that is toxic to the human body, has to pass through the liver. The liver is like the customs department of the body. Anything that is dangerous, toxic, damaging to the body, the liver is going to arrest it and deal with it and try to so that it don't spread to the rest of the body. And from the time we start after the first drink, the alcohol is literally penetrating the stomach wall right into the blood vessels, going to the liver. And for crying out loud, it's not only alcohol our liver has to deal with today. All those pesticides that we are using to grow our crops, all our herbicides and sprays and you name it, all these toxic substances that is in the air, the smog and the carbon monoxide and all of that has to be dealt with by the liver. So the liver, and there's an old saying in my growing up days, life depends on the liver. Your liver gone, everything else goes down with it. And this is what happened to my friend. Once the liver goes down, all the other organs starts to shut down. And in no time, you're dead. And I'm saying out there to all these relatives and friends of mine who still drink, nobody started off wanting to be in that condition or in that state. It is by gradually, as I said, 1,000 miles, you know, it goes one step at a time. But alcoholism as a disease is progressive. And once you continue to drink, it's just a question of time. Because while we are young, we can handle it. Our liver is much more efficient. But as we get older, our bodies can't handle it. And this is why you'd find the chronic alcoholic takes one drink and he gets drunk because his body now there's what is called a bell-shaped curve. At first, you could drink, drink, drink. I would have been able to pick up fellas, carry them, get them drunk, drop them home, pick up an next set of friends and lime and drink whole night. I was young in those days, in my 20s and so on, I could do that. But coming down to the end, most alcoholics eventually they're getting drunk now with a little small amount of alcohol because their body can't metabolize it efficiently. And they're getting drunk, but they don't want to accept. And these would be the people who, after 2 or 3 drinks at a party, know that look, from historically, that can't ought not to get them drunk. They're not drunk, and they feel they could drive. And then alcohol has a delayed effect. As you drink it, you don't feel drunk same time. It takes a little while. So that by the time you start feeling drunk, you're on the highway driving a fast car, and now you're drunk, and you can actually be a danger not only to yourself but to everyone coming in the opposite direction or standing side of the road. So again, in seeking out a life partner, you need to pay attention to their drinking habits and on both sides. So if you have a girl who is already drinking alcohol, boy, I would stay far from her. Or a fellow who is already drinking and showing that he's getting drunk, who has a history of family alcoholism in their family or mental illness. If I have the choice, I'm looking for somebody else. I'm sorry, I'm going to offend a lot of people out there who are actually alcoholics, and a lot of young people are drinking alcohol as though it's going out of style, but I make no apology for saying because I made the same mistake. And I wish I had a Mr. Dwarika to talk to me when I was a young man, and I would have prevented myself from getting into so much trouble and putting so many other people under distress. Today, I understand what a parent goes through when a young man is out there drinking. You go out there and you're not answering your phone, and they don't know where you are. And they're reading every day in the newspaper about people being kidnapped, and they're finding bones way into Port of Spain of a man from Point 14. And the family, I saw it on the news last night saying, wishing that it is not him, only to find out later on it may be him from the DNA report. So that families, you have a responsibility where you have an input, but young people, you also must take responsibility for yourself in making the choices. Let me finish by saying, whoever you are, wherever you are, however you are, what you have done, achieved, or not achieved, all based on the choices that you have made in your life up to this point. Whether they were influenced by others, it doesn't matter, but you are the person where you are. So you need to sit down and take a long look at, if you are not happy with where you are and how you are, you need to learn from the lessons of your life, the choices you have made, and be honest with yourself. You understand? So that there's a pamphlet that is available in Alcoholics Anonymous. It's the color green these days with a big question mark on it that says, "Who me?" I have often used that questionnaire on this program. It is available in any Alcoholics Anonymous group in Trinidad and Tobago. If it isn't, if they don't have a supply and you inquire from a member, the members will gladly give you their copy. It is a very useful little pamphlet that has helped millions of alcoholics worldwide to make that determination as to whether they're still a social drinker or they're an alcoholic. I would suggest strongly everyone, every household who can put their hand on that, they should try to get a copy and leave it on the center table. The alcoholics are not stupid people, you know. By the time long before they reach chronic addiction, they would have realized that they have a problem with alcohol. But most of the time, because of the stigma associated with alcohol, they would have been trying to fix it themselves. So you want to let them know, look, nothing is wrong with doing it on your own, but it won't hurt if you get help. And help is available in Trinidad and Tobago. In Trinidad and Tobago, we have the highest amount of AA groups per capita than any other country in the world. In my community, Felicity, where I live, there are 5 meetings for the week. There's one on a Sunday evening at the Mahasabha School. There's one on Monday evening at the Presbyterian School. There's one on Wednesday in the agricultural lands, in the farming area here. There's one on Friday night again at the Mahasabha School, and there's one on Saturday night at the Presbyterian School in Felicity. And so too in Endeavour, in Freeport, in Couva, in Esperanza, in Warrenville, in Cunupia, in Las Lomas, in St. Helena. All of these places, they are meeting places at different nights of the week in the whole of Trinidad and Tobago, all in South Barakpo, and on Saturday night you have at Canaan School, on Monday night you have it at Devi Hindu School. So there's no shortage of meetings, Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, and there's no shortage of these pamphlets, so that anyone out there who think they may have a problem, of course, if you don't want to go to AA, I know a lot of people have reservations, they don't want to go to AA, you can call me, and we have meetings online. I will give you the ID number and the password. You can stay in your own house and access a meeting, or you can call me, and if you have questions, I'd be happy to deal with it. Again, I want to thank you all for listening, and to let you know this program is on every Thursday at 9 a.m. in the morning. It would be again repeated on radio and TV Jagriti at 10 p.m. tonight. In about 10 or 15 minutes, it will be posted on Facebook and YouTube you can go back and refer to it, or you can send it to anyone who you think may benefit from the program. So thank you again. I want to thank the staff at Jagriti. I know we had a little glitch at the beginning, but these things do happen. Thank God all is well that ends well. So see you all next week. Bye for now. Have a good week.